The health care law may result in 2 million fewer full-time workers is the headline at the top of the New York Times website right now. And conservatives all over the country's heads are exploding. They are, I guarantee you right now on right-wing talk radio, they're going, see, we told you so. Look at this. 2 million fewer full-time workers because of Obamacare. It's a terrible thing. This is great news. This is great news. What the Congressional Budget Office has pointed out is that because people can now get health insurance when they're only working 20 or 30 hours a week, instead of having to have the full-time job, the 40-hour, 50-hour, 60-hour, whatever it is week. My work day runs from 9 to 9. I don't know how many hours that is. 12 times 5 is 70. Was that 70-hour a week? Something like that. 60. Thank you. You're better at math than me. So that's not so bad, 60-hour a week. Well, plus I write all weekend, yeah. Anyway. I don't do it for the health care. I do it because I love it. I mean, if you watch the show, you listen to the show, I do it. I do this because I love it. But there are a not inconsiderable number of people in America. Some studies indicate as much as a third of the American workforce, I'm guessing it may even be larger than that, who hate their work and would much rather not do it, but they're doing it because they have to. Now, we used to call that indenture or slavery. I mean, slavery is a bit extreme, but, undesirable. All right, the people would work at something that they hate doing simply because that's absolutely necessary to live. But it's really kind of the industrial society way. It used to be people could, they'd live on the farm, they could be self-sufficient. Yeah. The average, in indigenous societies, there's a book written called The Original Leisure Society back in the 70s about Aboriginal societies, that the average person in an indigenous society, hunting-gathering societies, works 2 hours a day, spend the rest of the time playing with the kids, playing with the family, doing songs, dancing, poetry, telling stories, transmitting culture. So I see this as really good news. That people are going to be able to say to dead-end, no good, lousy jobs, I don't need this job anymore just because it has health insurance associated with it. And I'm going to take a job where I work fewer hours, particularly for the, almost half of the workforce now. There's a significant portion of the workforce that are parents who would really rather be home with their kids. Keep in mind, half of all American children come home to an empty house after school. Wouldn't it be great if one parent in those households could say, instead of working from 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, I'm going to start working from 9 to 3. And yeah, I know, going part-time like that, I'm going to lose my health insurance, but hey, I can get it from Obamacare. So that's the first benefit. That's why I think that's the first, there's two reasons why I think this is really great news. And I'm astounded that the New York Times in this article by Ann Lowry and Jonathan Weisman did not point out either one of these 2 points. They did point out all the hysterical right-wing, oh my God, we told you so. Obamacare is going to cause a loss of jobs. Well, it's not going to cause a loss of jobs. It's going to cause a loss of workers. Now, what's that going to mean? It's going to mean, A, America's going to get happier. You're going to have fewer people stressed out. You're going to have fewer people beating up their kids or having, getting divorces or committing suicide or being on antidepressants. Number one. And number two, what happens when 2 million people drop out of the workforce? Or the net effect of 2 million people. If, 6 million people reduce their hours by 10 hours or whatever. And so the net effect is 2 million people leave the workforce. What happens when 2 million people leave the workforce is that the labor market tightens up. What happens when the labor market tightens up? Wages go up. What happens when wages go up? The middle class starts to grow, standards of living increase, and tax collections go up, which means the deficit goes down. These are all good things. And because virtually 100% of those people are paying Social Security and Medicare, they're paying payroll tax on all of their income. We're not talking the top 1% here, or the top 5% or whatever it is. Whoever it is making over $117,000. We're talking about people making under $117,000 a year. So all of their income is taxed for Social Security. And if you have, as a consequence of a couple million people leaving the workforce, you have the workforce tightening up and wages at the bottom going up. Those wages are 100% taxed for Social Security, so the income to the Social Security system is going to go up, and so Social Security is going to be strengthened. This is great news. Somebody needs to call the New York Times and point this out to them. The CBO also said, by the way, that the budget deficit is going to be falling. Very last paragraphs. The good news in the article is on the fourth page when you print it out. The news in the report is not all bad for Democrats. This is the next to the last paragraph after going through 3 pages of basically Republican talking points. The news in the report is not all bad for Democrats. See, I thought it was all great news, but in any case, it's not all bad for Democrats. The office also sees the budget deficit falling to $514 billion in 2014. That's about 3% of GDP. From the $1.4 trillion that Obama inherited from Bush in 2009. My words, not New York Times. Many economists, the New York Times, Lowry and Weissman write, many economists consider deficits of that size to be sustainable in the long term. Because we do have to have, it's a good thing to have a debt because then people can save. Public debt is private savings. People buy treasury bonds. The Budget Office sees the deficit continuing to drop in the 2015 fiscal year. See, they said $514 billion in 2014. The 2015, it's going to drop down to 4.78 or 2.6% of economic output. So that's a good thing. Although the last sentence from there, though, it anticipates that the deficit will rise again as government spending picks up absent congressional action. In other words, we need to stop spending. I'm astounded. I saw the headline, and I thought, really? I read the first couple paragraphs, which explained why. Congressional Republican leaders called the findings devastating, terrible, and proof that the health care law was a job killer. The report did say that the law would reduce hours worked in full-time employment, but not because of a crippling impact on private sector job creation. With the expansion of, I'm quoting from the New York Times article here from Lowry and Weissman. With the expansion of insurance coverage, the Budget Office predicted more people will choose not to work, and others would choose to work fewer hours. Because, they don't have to work all those hours to get employer-provided health insurance. Isn't that a wonderful thing? America gets happier, fewer people take Prozac, fewer kids get beat up, fewer divorces happen. People have more time to dance and play and write novels and poetry and walk on the seashore. I think this is good. And the labor market tightens up. You pull 2 million people out of the labor market, and boom, you're going to see wages go up, 1%, 2%. And as wages go up, tax collections go up, particularly Social Security taxes, because this is all happening at the bottom. This is all happening in the bottom half of the American economy. And those people, 100% of their income is subject to taxation for Social Security and Medicare. Always. You can't get away from it. Unlike Mitt Romney, who, doesn't pay those taxes after his first day of work. Pays nothing after his first day of work in Social Security and Medicare.